Thank you for stopping by for the Doocy Download. We're still calling it the Doocy Download, right? The Doocy Download. The question for this particular segment is a simple one. Are the Dallas Mavericks turning into the Dallas Cowboys? Now, there was a time not that long ago where the Mavs would have given anything to think that they were turning into the Cowboys. When I got here in the mid-90s, the Mavericks were the laughingstock of pro sports. The Cowboys were coming off back-to-back Super Bowls. But now, the ebb and flow of the last 2 decades, the Mavericks won the title not long ago, 5 years ago now in 2011. It's been more than 20 years now for the Cowboys, as you know. But I'm wondering if the Mavs are turning into the Cowboys in that they're stuck on this treadmill of mediocrity. Jerry's team is basically a 500 team in the last 20 years or so. They make the playoffs now and then. They rarely actually win a playoff game. And the Mavs, with a smaller, sample size, if you will, since their last championship, find themselves in a very similar situation. Haven't won a playoff series since the championship in 2011. They've had a hard time winning a single playoff game. And now they find themselves year after year in a position where they're just fighting to be in the playoffs at all. This year, for example, they're tied with Houston, for 8th in the West, heading into the final handful of games in the regular season. Are they becoming the same franchise? It may not be that much of a stretch because sometimes I think Jerry Jones and Mark Cuban are basically the same person, although they're treated very differently by the media and by the public. I don't know what Jerry's popularity rating would be. I'm just guessing here among fans and just say the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'd say Jerry's popularity rating might be in the 60s, maybe that's stretching it. I think Cubans would be in the 80s, even though, again, they're very similar in the way they manage their teams. They're extremely hands-on. Look at Cuban at a Mavs game. He's basically on the bench. He's talking to guys during the game. Jerry comes down to the sideline late in the game, and it's a federal issue. I think Cuban gets a break because he wears T-shirts, because he is more relatable. And Jerry hurts himself just by the way he presents himself publicly, by the way he speaks, his tortured syntax. Jerry constantly is trying to, pull one over on the viewer or the listener. I think that hurts him. There's just this thought that Jerry is somehow inherently dishonest, and that might be unfair. But anyway, I think the owners, bottom line, are very similar. They both want to win. They're both willing to spend money to win. But I wonder if Mark Cuban, for example, has anybody that he really listens to in that organization. Anybody that he really listens to. I might be wrong here, because Cuban's done so many things right since he's owned the team. So many things right. He took this laughingstock of a franchise and has made them relevant year after year after year after year, and they're still relevant, but just barely relevant right now. I think Jerry has loosened his, the reins on his control of the team from a player personnel standpoint, and I think recent drafts have shown that, although it's unfair that Jerry never gets credit for good drafts and always gets blamed for bad drafts. But Cuban and Jerry, very similar, I think, in their management styles. Both guys who pride themselves in being forward thinkers and cutting edge. In Cuban's case of technology, Jerry's case, cutting edge of marketing, putting together deals that nobody else could have imagined. This new complex in Frisco. And Cuban, it goes without saying, what he's been able to do in terms of so many different platforms in media and in digital media. So similar guys in terms of their ownership style. I think for Cuban's sake, he needs to listen to those around him whom he trusts. Maybe he's doing that already, I don't know, because something needs to change for the Mavericks, or 10 years from now, they're going to be like the Cowboys have been for the last 2 decades, a team that usually is good enough to be in the playoff conversation, but is rarely good enough to be in the championship conversation. That's the Doocy Download for now. We appreciate you sticking with us, and we'll talk to you again soon on Fox 4.